I caught my reflection in a store window and barely recognized myself. Curves where there should not have been any. A face that no longer felt like mine. 6 months ago, I was just a guy moving in with his girlfriend. Now I was someone else entirely. And the terrifying part was how easily it had happened. It started the day Lindsay asked me to move in with her. She was bright, pretty, fun, adventurous, and let me be honest, since I am a guy, absolutely stunning. We had been dating for 6 months, and everything between us felt effortless. A full-time invitation to share her place was impossible to turn down. I packed my bags, tossed my old furniture, and settled right in. I thought I was the luckiest man alive. I had no idea what I was walking into. Most of my stuff ended up in storage. Lindsay would never allow rock band posters on her carefully decorated walls, and none of my lamps or knickknacks met her standards. She kept a couple of my pots and pans, gave me one small closet and 2 dresser drawers. And that was that. I never minded. Her taste was better than mine, and I was not about to fight over something so trivial. I wanted to be with her, and save money in the process. Looking back now, I realize the erasure started right there. Piece by piece, everything that was mine disappeared from that apartment. And eventually, so did the man who carried it all in. Life together felt like a dream. We would head off to work, and I would come home to a cooked dinner. We would watch a movie or go out somewhere, then share the same bed every night. I would have liked more intimacy, but once or twice a week was what she offered. Some evenings, Lindsay would stroll around in a new pink and black lingerie set that made my jaw drop. But that was simply what she wore. It did not always lead anywhere. Still, even with that, living with her was everything I had hoped for. A few months after I moved in, Lindsay asked me to sit down on the couch. She had that look, the one that told me I was not going to enjoy what came next. "It is my parents," she said. "What about them?" "They want to come into the city. They want to stay here a couple of days." "That is nice," I said. "I would love to meet your folks." She sighed. "That is the problem. My parents were strict when I was growing up. They still see me as their little girl. In their eyes, intimacy belongs in marriage. If they found out a man was living with me, they would lose their minds. They would see you as some villain, and they would never approve of us getting married one day." Married? She was thinking long term. That hit me like a wave, because it was my dream too, spending my life with Lindsay. I had been secretly saving for an engagement ring. I could not blow this now. I also suddenly understood why none of my belongings had made the cut for her decor. She never wanted her parents to see a single trace of me. "I get it," I said. "I will crash with a buddy while they are here. I will hate being away from you, but I understand." "No," she replied. "That will not work. They know I have a roommate. When I first moved to the city, they helped me with rent. Now that I have been here over a year, they told me to either find a better job, get a cheaper place, or find someone to split costs with. I love my job, and I love this apartment, so I could not move. Fortunately, I love my roommate too." We shared a quick kiss, and she giggled. "So I solved your problem for you by moving in," I said. "Lucky me." "But they will expect to meet my roommate." "Roommates go out of town," I offered, unsure where this was heading. "Sure. But what about next time? And the time after that? Eventually they will have to meet you." "But you said your dad would want to kill me." "Yes." "And yet you want him to meet me?" "I do not understand." Frustration crept in. Sometimes she talked in circles, layering hints instead of just saying what she meant. "Just tell me what you want me to do," I said. "Fine. My parents need to meet my roommate. My dad would panic if he knew I was living with a man. That leaves one option. They need to believe you are a woman." "No way," I said instantly. The idea was absurd. There was no chance I would dress up as a girl, and even less chance I could pull it off. I loved Lindsay, but this was beyond reason. "Why not?" she asked. as casually as if we were choosing between coffee and tea. Well, for starters, I'm a man. Men do not dress up as women. You think putting on a skirt will hurt you or change who you are? You would still be you, just in prettier clothes. Even if I did, I would never fool anyone. Lindsay moved closer, her face inches from mine. She touched my cheek gently. Please, she said. For me? Do you not want to stay with me? Do you not want us to be together for the rest of our lives? Of course I do, I said. If you do this for me, I would be so happy. I would let you live out any fantasy you have. Anything. Just let me dress you up. Do not say it will not work until you have seen yourself. Please, at least try. For me. Her powers of persuasion were overwhelming. She whispered in my ear, painting a picture of how wonderful things could be if I agreed. Reluctantly, I caved in. Okay, I said. You can dress me up, but I am not saying yes unless your parents genuinely cannot tell. Deal, she said with a satisfied smile. She told me to go shower and clean up. I was terrified she would ask me to shave my legs, but thankfully that did not come up. I dried off, pulled on my boxers, and walked into the bedroom where she had everything laid out. She looked at me and laughed. Take those off. You will not be needing them. I swapped them reluctantly for a pair of panties. They were heavier than expected, padding sewn throughout, yet soft and silky against my skin. The padding gives your rear a nicer shape, Lindsay explained. Now we work on your silhouette. This is a waist cincher. I will help you into it. Once we tighten it, your sides pull in and your hips look wider. Combined with the padded panties, you will actually have curves. She wrapped it around me and fastened it in the back. It felt impossibly tight. Breathe out so I can tighten it more. Does it have to be this tight? Yes. Be glad I am not putting you in a corset. Breathe out one more time. My midsection was being squeezed hard. I wanted to check the mirror, but she had draped a sheet over it. No peeking until she was done. Next came one of her bras, shoulder straps adjusted until it sat properly. These were expensive, she said, opening a box. Take good care of them. Inside were 2 mounds of gel material shaped exactly like breasts, complete with realistic nipples and darker rings of color. They looked disturbingly real. Lindsay smiled as she slid the first one into my bra, then the second. They had genuine weight. The straps dug into my shoulders, and when I looked down, 2 large mounds blocked everything except my feet poking out below. Now you have D cups just like me, she giggled. Great, I said flatly. I braced myself for something frilly, and the first garment she pulled out did look intimidating. A powder blue cami top with dark blue trim and tiny shoulder straps far too narrow to cover my bra straps. She slid it over my head, and I shivered as the silky fabric settled against my skin. Nothing I owned had ever felt like that. The triangular shapes at the top draped over my fake chest, pushed outward by 2 unmistakable mounds. I think you will fit in these, she said. Let us try them on. Relief. Blue jeans. I stepped into them and pulled them up, struggling against the tightness. They ended well above my knees and rose almost to my belly button. Around my padded hips and cinched waist, I barely managed to fasten the button. Now let us accessorize, said Lindsay, handing me a wide macrame belt with glittery sequins and a large buckle. I put it on, feeling utterly foolish. Next, your sweater. She handed me a white sweater. I pulled it on and looked down at the deep V-neck. The silky cami peeked through, but neither the bra nor what was inside it showed. That layered look, the one I always loved on Lindsay, was now on me. I shivered, wondering what came next. She sat me down and worked gel through my hair, slicking it back, shaping it for a long time until she was satisfied. Then came the makeup. Foundation, blush, eyeliner. She named each product as she applied it, none of which meant anything to me. Okay, you are all set, she finally said. I'm going to let you see the mirror. Be honest. If you can tell you are a guy, we forget the whole idea. But I think you can pass easily. Ready? As ready as I will ever be, I muttered, not quite wanting to face my reflection. I would like to introduce you to the new you, she said. Say hello to Kate. She pulled the sheet away, and I was stunned. At first glance, I did not even recognize myself. The reflection showed a girl. The cincher and padded panties had reshaped my body into something with actual curves. The fake chest filled out the sweater perfectly. Her work with makeup and hair made it genuinely difficult to see the old me underneath. I cannot believe it, I said. See? Told you. Now imagine how you will look with painted nails, jewelry, proper shoes. And of course, you will need to shave your legs. I was too stunned to respond, just sitting there staring at the stranger in the mirror. Lindsay picked up her phone and hit a speed dial button. Hi, Mom. Sorry I missed you and Dad. Hope you're having fun today. My roommate Kate and I cannot wait to see you. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. She turned to me. There. Now they are expecting to meet you. Kate. Kate. A girl's name? How had I let myself get pulled into this? Lindsay had transformed me, and now her parents were expecting a female roommate. I could not believe I was going through with it. But I also could not believe the cute, short-haired girl in the mirror was actually me. Okay, I said. I will do it. But I am not thrilled. Well, I am thrilled, said Lindsay, stepping close. She hugged me and kissed me softly on the lips, so tender it sent a current through me, even dressed the way I was. Her body pressed into mine, and despite everything, the attraction was undeniable. She pulled back, eyes bright with excitement. Oh, Kate, she said. You have got me completely worked up just looking at you. You have no idea what this does to me. I did not love that she was still calling me Kate, but her excitement was infectious, overwhelming. What followed was the most passionate encounter we had ever shared. Lindsay was insatiable, more responsive, more vocal, more alive than I had ever experienced. We had been intimate many times since we first got together, but nothing came close to this. She was electric, moving from one wave of pleasure to the next, and her intensity pulled me right along with her. Afterward, she lay beside me, gently stroking my hair, then my face. Oh, Kate, she whispered, I absolutely adore you. You are the best lover in the entire world. I am so fortunate you are my girlfriend. Why was she doing this? What kind of game was she playing? I did not enjoy being called a girl. Why was she taunting me? After that, I would do anything for you, Kate, she continued. This was a dream come true, seeing you become a woman today, being with you like this. You cannot imagine how turned on I felt the moment you were all dressed up. I just adore you as a woman. I love you, and I feel like you are absolutely perfect now. I want to be with you forever. I did not know if she was talking to me or to Kate. How could this be a dream for her, seeing me as a woman? I did not like it, but I was committed to going through with the weekend as Kate for her parents. I would have to make the best of it. At least I was scoring major points with Lindsay. I had to take that as consolation. For the next 3 days before her parents arrived, she had me practice being a girl. She bought me boots with heels and 2 pairs of shoes. Walking in them was a challenge at first. She taught me to apply my own makeup and style my own hair, trimming it so it sat better in the look she wanted. We painted our nails together, did each other's toenails, and of course, I had to shave off all my body hair, legs included. Being completely smooth felt strange, but there was one upside. Every time I dressed up and became Kate, Lindsay could not keep her hands off me. We were intimate more often than even I could handle. She made me sleep in a pink nightie with my fake chest on, so I would get used to it before the visit. After the first time, it was less of a shock, but I certainly did not enjoy it. I was a guy. I did not want to walk around as a girl. She kept reminding me it was only for the weekend and that we would go back to normal afterward. The only thing keeping me motivated was the fact that as Kate, I seemed to be completely irresistible to her. The one downside was the sleeping arrangement. We would tell her parents I normally slept on the hide-a-bed in the study and that I had moved into Lindsay's room for their stay. We could not let them know we always shared a bed. Lindsay insisted I actually sleep on the hide-a-bed the entire weekend, so it would not smell unused. That made sense, but I hated it, sleeping alone in a nightie with fake breasts in a separate room. Still, this was the kind of detail that mattered. Sleeping alone as a girl was better than being discovered. The wait for her parents was terrifying. My girlfriend's mother and father were about to walk through the door and meet me dressed as a woman. "Quit fidgeting, Kate," said Lindsay. "Everything is going to be fine." I walked to the mirror and studied my reflection. I wore the same outfit as the first time I became Kate, but things had progressed. Black shoes with pointed toes and moderate heels, clip-on hoop earrings, a necklace, several rings. My short hair looked spiky and better now that Lindsay had trimmed it. She had cleaned up my eyebrows too, using a pencil to make them taper thinner. My nails were painted a dark red called Merlot. After 3 days of practice, I felt confident I would not slip up. You genuinely could not tell I was a man anymore. Maybe someone who knew me well could spot it, but they would have to look hard. We had also decided that if we ran into anyone I knew while out, I would pretend not to recognize them and claim to be my own sister. Wonderful! Pretending to be my own sister. The doorbell rang, and my heart hammered. Nobody but Lindsay had seen me like this. Now strangers were about to meet Kate. I sat on the couch, crossed my legs the way Lindsay had taught me, and pretended to read a copy of Glamour as she answered the door. She glanced back with a smile and a wink. Her parents walked in. Hugs and kisses all around. I stood and walked over. "Mom and Dad, this is my roomie Kate," she said. "Hello, Kate. What a lovely outfit. You are pretty, just like Lindsay said. She has told me so much about you. I am so glad to finally meet you." "Likewise," I said. Lindsay had coached me. When two women meet, they trade compliments. Her mother had complimented my appearance. Now I needed to return the gesture. I could see the resemblance instantly. Same face, same build. A man might notice other things, but I knew better. "I love your hair," I said. "I have been thinking of growing mine out like that." Lindsay looked at me proudly. "It takes more work, dear," her mom replied. "But it is worth it. You would look so pretty with long hair. I think you should grow it out." "Ahem," her dad cut in. "Are you women going to talk about beauty and hair all day, or are you going to introduce me?" "Sorry, Dad," said Lindsay. "I would like you to meet Kate." I held out my hand to shake his. As Lindsay had instructed, I kept my wrist relaxed, fingers apart, no firmness. Then I gave him an impulsive-looking hug, followed by one for her mom, exactly as we had rehearsed. "I practically feel like you are my family," I said. "Lindsay talks about you all the time." I had the urge to offer help with luggage, but a girl would not do that. Instead, I asked if they wanted something to eat or drink. Just like that, we had hit it off. They accepted me without a single question. I could not help feeling strange being in front of people as Kate, but the illusion was working. Lindsay had been right about everything she told me to say and do. Her dad saw a typical young woman interested in fashion. Her mom thought I was sweet. We were all soon talking, and for the first time, I felt myself relax. That night, Lindsay and I cooked dinner for her folks. Her dad, Gary, seemed like the kind of guy I could hang out with, which made it all the more frustrating to be stuck as Kate. We could have watched the football game together over beers. Instead, I had to avoid talking sports entirely. Lindsay insisted I limit myself to small sips of frozen girly drinks only. Her mom, Carol, was warm and talkative, sharing embarrassing stories from Lindsay's childhood. Like any skilled conversationalist, she made sure everyone felt included, asking me about my job and my life. I had to tread carefully, not lying outright, but not exactly telling the whole truth either. One topic caught me off guard. "So tell me, girls," said Carol, "are you seeing anyone? Do you have a boyfriend?" "Not right now," I said. That was technically true. I certainly did not have a boyfriend. "I'm in between right now, Mom," said Lindsay. "I just cannot believe two girls as attractive as you do not have boys calling all the time. When I was your age, dear, I think you are making them uncomfortable," said Gary, rescuing me. "Maybe you should introduce Kate to your cousin Dave," Carol added. "Mom!" Lindsay protested. We all laughed, and mercifully the topic shifted. That night, after her parents had gone to bed in the guest room, I lay on the hide-a-bed in the study, staring at the ceiling. Lindsay tiptoed in, sat on the edge of the mattress, and kissed me lightly on the cheek. "We cannot do anything while they are here," she said. "I know," I replied glumly. "I am so proud of you, Kate. You really impressed them. Just try to enjoy the weekend. You make a wonderful girlfriend." She slipped back to her own room, and I lay there in the dark, not entirely sure I liked how well I was doing as a woman. Saturday was packed. 2 museums, lunch downtown in between, then a fancy dinner out. I had to order something small and light, the way a girl would. I watched Gary dig into a massive T-bone steak while I stared down at my measly salad. Afterward, he disappeared into the cigar bar for bourbon and the game, while I stayed with the women. We caught a show that night and came home exhausted. Sunday was busy too. While Gary stayed behind to watch the big game with cold beers, Carol took Lindsay and me shopping. She insisted on buying us each something and found me an off-white sweater, soft and fuzzy, with a high turtleneck. "You have got large ones, like we do in our family," she said. "Trust me, you will look dynamite in this. You will not be able to keep the boys away." Exactly what I was not looking for. Carol wanted full makeovers, but Lindsay talked her down to manicures. It felt surreal having a young woman file and paint my nails. She asked if I had a boyfriend. When I said no, she offered to introduce me to her brother. A woman was trying to set me up with a man. I gently declined, lying that I had just ended a relationship and was not ready. I was grateful when we finally left. Lindsay's parents were nearly ready to go home. All weekend, she had been snapping photos with her phone. I had done my best to stay out of the frame, but she caught me in plenty of them. Now Gary pulled out his good digital camera and insisted on posed shots. He took several of Lindsay with her mom, then handed me the camera for shots with both parents, then just with him. But then he wanted pictures of me with Lindsay, me with Carol, me with both of them. Finally, he set the timer and jumped in himself. After 4 takes, he was satisfied. He downloaded everything to Lindsay's computer, and she printed a couple of the group shots. We said our goodbyes, and I was relieved that my time as Kate was over. I had not been intimate with Lindsay since her parents arrived, not even a kiss. I wanted her desperately. As soon as they left, I rushed toward her. There were long hugs and kisses at the door, and her parents invited us both to visit them in the country for the holidays. Lindsay accepted without consulting me, which I did not love. But I was not thinking about that. The door closed, and I went straight to her for a much-needed kiss. "Oh, Kate, you are such a horny girl," she said. "Keep your panties on for a few minutes. I have something to do first." Her parents were gone, but she was still calling me Kate. That I did not like at all. I watched as she took the group photo she had just printed, framed it, and placed it in the living room. Now I would see myself as a girl every time I sat on the couch. Worse, she printed a shot of just the two of us, framed that too, and set it in the bedroom. My image as Kate, staring back at me from the nightstand. I asked her what would happen if one of my friends ever stopped by and saw those pictures. "Nobody is going to stop by without calling first," she said, waving the concern away. "And if they do, I will just say Kate is a friend from work." Then, finally, she turned to me with that look. "Oh, Kate," she said, "I have been thinking of you all weekend. I need you so much." And soon we were in bed, with me still as Kate, wrapped up in each other. I did not understand why pretending I was a girl drove Lindsay so wild. All I knew was that we spent hours lost in each other. I was so exhausted afterward that I fell asleep still wearing the bra and fake chest. That was the best ever, Lindsay murmured. It was great, I agreed. I love you, Kate, she said. I love you too, I replied, and we both drifted off. Monday, I went to work as normal. When I got home, all my Kate things were neatly packed away in the closet. Lindsay called me by my real name again, and no mention was made of Kate. I was happy about that. But we did not make love that night, which felt like a letdown after Sunday. A few days later, over dinner, Lindsay asked me a surprising question. What is your ultimate fantasy in bed? If there were no boundaries, no inhibitions, and you could do anything with me, what would it be? I was cautious, sensing a possible trap. You are my fantasy, I said. No, be honest with me, she insisted. I did a paper in college on this topic. I know that every man has some fantasy he wants to try. Some want the danger of being caught. Some want it outdoors, or in a pool. Some are into bondage, being told what to do. So tell me, what is your deepest fantasy that you have never shared? I will not be upset, whatever it is. I hesitated. She saw it and reassured me again. Fine, I said. Promise you will not be angry. I promise. Okay, I have always had this fantasy where I walk into a strip club. I sit by the stage, have a drink, watch the dancers. The most stunning one of all is performing just for me. When I go to tip her, she tells me not to. Because I am so special, the dance is free. Afterward, she sits on my lap. Then she invites me backstage. There are beautiful women everywhere, but I only see her. She seduces me, and we make love right there in her dressing room. Wow, said Lindsay. I know. Stupid male fantasy, I said, blushing. No, it is not, she replied. Think about it. For a man, having a choice of gorgeous women who all want him is the ultimate. Strippers carry this aloofness. You know you can never have them. They are unobtainable. So your fantasy is being surrounded by unobtainable beauty and having the most gorgeous one choose you, want you so desperately she has to have you right there. It is primal. It shows drive. I think it is wonderful. I nodded. She had it nailed. I was relieved when the topic shifted and we settled into a more normal conversation. A few weeks later, it was my birthday. Lindsay said she had a surprise. We got into a cab and drove downtown, onto a street I did not recognize. The cab stopped in front of a club with a line of people waiting behind velvet ropes on a red carpet. I looked at the name and gasped. It was not a dance club. It was a strip club. Lindsay was taking me to a strip club for my birthday. I felt incredibly lucky to have a girlfriend confident enough to do this with me. She had everything arranged. No waiting in line, VIP tickets, no table in the corner, seats right at the edge of the stage. She pulled out a thick stack of bills and placed it in front of us. This will keep them coming our way, she said. How did she know so much about how these places worked? Go ahead and enjoy the view, she told me. I will not be offended that you are staring. Now that you have walked around with a pair of your own, it is perfectly fine to look at other girls. So this was my reward for being Kate. I sipped my beer, sat back, and watched as one perfect woman after the next danced on the stage. Lindsay asked me what I thought of one dancer's figure, another's hair, the look of a third. She pointed out details, asked me my preferences. I had to admit I enjoyed every second of it. She also quizzed me about outfits, which ones I found the most appealing. It turned out the schoolgirl uniform did the most for me. She asked about the shoes, too. Some dancers wore platforms, some chunky heels, some impossibly thin stilettos as tall as 8 inches. I told her I preferred the thin heels, but anything over 6 inches lost its elegance. She seemed to approve of my taste. I have to visit the little girl's room, Lindsay said. I am sure you can take care of yourself for a while. I continued watching, slipping bills into garters, mesmerized by one stunning dancer after the next. Then the announcement came. Ladies and gentlemen, making her West Side Club premiere, please welcome a local girl, the beautiful, busty Lindsay. I turned in shock. There she was, strutting onto the stage in the exact shoes I had praised, and a skimpy schoolgirl uniform. My ideal. She started on the far side, and I watched with a knot in my stomach as she danced for the men over there, removing her top to their cheers. She was mine. Those were my eyes only. I did not love other men seeing her like that. She gathered tips, worked the pole in the center, and finally made her way to my side. She pretended not to notice me at first, dancing for a couple of guys at the end. Then she reached me, locked eyes, and smiled. She climbed down from the stage, came around behind me, rubbed my shoulders. I could feel her body graze the back of my head. Then she moved in front of me and danced just for me. She was incredible. "Hi," she said. "I am Lindsay. Who are you?" I smiled and played along, introducing myself. "Is it okay if I sit on your lap?" she asked. Of course. Every eye in the house was on me. The most stunning woman in the place had chosen me, sitting right there on my lap. We talked for a while, her hands on my shoulders. "I am not supposed to do this," she whispered, "but you are just so attractive that I cannot help myself. Do you want to come backstage?" "Absolutely," I said. She led me by the hand through a doorway, past the large man, guarding it with a nod. We walked through a corridor lined with mirrors, where other dancers were checking makeup and adjusting outfits. Lindsay guided me to a private room, closed the door behind us, and there, surrounded by exactly the scene I had described to her, I lived out the fantasy I had carried my entire life. About a month after my birthday, Lindsay and I were happier than ever. I still could not believe she had gone to such lengths to bring my deepest fantasy to life. It made me love her even more. I never wanted to be apart from her, and I pushed harder to save for an engagement ring. One evening, as we watched a movie together, Lindsay leaned into me with her arms wrapped tight. She said, "I really want you today." Any time she was in the mood was welcome news. If it were up to me, we would be intimate daily. But, as usual, we were back to once or twice a week at most. So I perked up immediately. "I want you too," I said, kissing her. "Would you do something special for me?" "Of course." "Would you become Kate for me tonight?" When we were together as girlfriends, it was just the best. I was a little stunned, though I suppose I should not have been surprised. She truly did come alive when we were intimate that way. And how could I say no? I agreed, and she was thrilled. She dressed me up, did my makeup, and wrapped me in a plaid skirt, the same one from the strip club. A shiver ran through me, knowing I was wearing what she had worn on stage. She was insatiable. The passion she showed when I was Kate was on a completely different level from our normal encounters. She went wild, moaning, trembling, lost in wave after wave of pleasure. I did not love wearing the fake chest again, but her reaction made it worthwhile. And this time it was not as jarring. I had done it before. There was no humiliation. I could almost see it as a game we played together, one I could learn to enjoy. A few days later, we were showering together. Lindsay was shaving her legs with her pink razor. I always found it attractive to watch her do it. When she finished, she knelt down and started working on my legs. I nearly jumped back, but she just grinned. She made the message clear. Let her shave me, and she would make it very worth my while, right there in the shower. I stood still and let her work, removing all the hair from my legs. But she did not stop there. She did my chest, then my shoulders and back. She handed me the razor and told me to do under my arms. While I handled that, she took a small pair of scissors from the wire rack hanging off the shower head and trimmed my pubic hair down, then shaved it into a neat rectangle. She shaped hers to match. Then she knelt again and fulfilled her end of the bargain. Her mouth around me, her fingers teasing my skin. A wave of pleasure swept through me, and I finished hard. She cleaned me up, and we rinsed off together. She sprayed herself with an afterbath mist, then turned and sprayed me too. My skin was completely smooth now, and the scent of flowers clung to both of us. "I just love your skin like that," she said, pressing her wet body against mine. Promise me you will not let it get all hairy again. I do not like it when you are messy. Will you keep yourself nice and smooth? I love it when you feel like this. What she was really proposing was that I stay ready to be Kate at any time. It was unsettling, keeping my skin always soft and hairless like hers. She was implying she wanted Kate more often. I loved how I made her feel when I was Kate, but I wanted to make her feel that way as myself. Please promise me, she said. I love you so much. I loved her too. I felt confused, but I caved in and agreed. Lindsay hugged me so tightly, her body warm and pressed against mine. My smooth skin against hers felt incredible. I hoped I had made the right decision. On Friday, Lindsay asked if I would be Kate for the night so we could go out on a date. We had not been intimate in a couple of days, and the thought of what would follow was enough to make me say yes. She helped me dress, makeup, hair, nails. She put me in the white sweater her mom had bought and a navy blue knee-length skirt. At dinner, it felt like every man in the restaurant was staring at us. When they looked at Lindsay, I got that same queasy feeling from the night she was on stage. I did not like other men eyeing her. But it was far worse when a man looked at me that way, as if I were a desirable woman. It was overwhelming. I did not want attention from men. It made me feel exposed, vulnerable, and afraid. After dinner, we caught a movie, then strolled down the street window shopping. We stopped in a bar for drinks and danced to the jukebox. Several men tried to approach us, but we brushed them off. We could let them buy us drinks, Lindsay giggled. We would just have to talk to them, maybe dance. Save us a lot of money. You want me to dance with a man? I said, hoping she would see how absurd it was. You are that scared of a man flirting with you? Yes. I was terrified she would push it, but thankfully, she said we were going home. By the time we walked through the front door, we were so worked up, we practically tore each other's clothes off, a trail of garments from the entrance to the bedroom. We were passionate for hours, and every moment was sweet. After I agreed to keep myself smooth, Lindsay wanted me to be Kate more and more. In fact, she hardly seemed interested in intimacy if I was not. I suppose I did not mind too much, because it was always incredible between us that way. I even let her apply her lotions and creams to my skin, keeping it soft like hers. Sometimes she wanted us to go out on dates, which carried a certain thrill from the danger of it. But I hated being hit on by men just because I appeared to have a large chest. I would have preferred a conventional relationship with Lindsay, but Kate drove her wild, and I got more intimacy than I could handle. Far better than the alternative. Kate, you would look so pretty if you grew your hair out long, she told me one day. I think you should let it grow. She was always nudging me further. I had already agreed to keep my toenails painted at all times, and I was letting my fingernails grow just a touch longer so they would look nicer. But I did not want to go so far that anything showed when I was myself. At work, I kept my sleeves long and my shoes closed-toe, and so far nobody had noticed a thing. I did not mind playing Kate. I did not want to become her. Yet as weeks turned to months, I was gradually spending more time as Kate and less as myself. Nearly every weekend now, I was Kate from Friday evening to Sunday night. It sent Lindsay into a frenzy, and it was undeniably worth it. Looking back over recent weeks, I shuddered at the pattern. We were intimate all weekend long, but nothing during the week. Lindsay only became aroused when I was Kate. That was a frightening realization. Around the same time, I started noticing small changes I could not explain. My skin seemed softer, almost delicate. I was more emotional than usual, tearing up at movies, snapping over nothing. I mentioned it to Lindsay, and she told me it was probably stress from the double life I was leading. That made sense, so I let it go. One weekend, we drove out to the country to stay with her folks. We had a wonderful time, and once again I passed without suspicion. Kate, you look so pretty with your longer hair, her mother said, just as I thought when I first met you. Thanks, Carol, I like yours too. Did you color it? Just highlights, dear. There were only two difficult parts to that visit. First, her dad was in the living room watching football, drinking beer, smoking a cigar, and I desperately wanted to join him. But I could not do that as a girl. Instead, I stood in the kitchen learning Carol's family recipe for apple pie. Second, on Saturday night, Carol surprised us by inviting her friends Sandra and Dave, who brought their two sons along. She was trying to set Lindsay up with one and me with the other. "We have to go along with it," Lindsay whispered. "Just act nice and flirt with your guy. We will not give out our numbers." So all evening, I had to pretend I enjoyed the company of this man, Brad. I had to let him flirt with me and do the same back. I was enormously relieved when they finally left. "So, Lindsay, what did you think of Michael?" Carol asked. "Ew," she said, which made me laugh. Carol meant well. She had no way of knowing Lindsay and I were in love. "Thanks for being such a sport," Lindsay told me when we got back to her place. "Not a problem," I said, changing into my nightie for bed. We made love then, having waited the entire weekend without a chance. We fell asleep in each other's arms, and I felt genuinely happy. One evening during the following week, I came home to find dinner cooked and waiting. "Wow," I said. "That smells fantastic." I reached out for a hug and a kiss, but she was distant. "What is the matter?" I asked. "I do not know," she said slowly. I was thinking about how I like you a lot. I could even say I love you, but I am totally in love with Kate." "But that is me." "Yes and no. You are completely different when you are Kate. I wish there were a way you could spend more time as her and less as you. I care about you deeply, but I am head over heels for her." "Lindsay, you are asking me to spend more of my life as a girl." "Exactly. When you are Kate, everything is wonderful. Please consider it. We would be so happy together as girlfriends." That was heavy, and I was not interested in living my life as a woman. She let it drop, and we carried on with our normal routine during the week. As had become usual, Friday evening, I transformed into Kate for the weekend. Lindsay came home and lit up the moment she saw me. Compliments, kisses, hands everywhere. Before we even ate dinner, she had to have me right then and there. Afterward, we dressed again, ate, caught a movie, and took a long walk through the park under moonlight and stars. Back home, we went to bed again. I went down on her and brought her to climax. When it was my turn, she tried. But for some reason, I could not get hard. She shrugged, and we ended up just holding each other. That had never happened to me before. I could always perform, especially for her. What scared me was that the same thing happened Saturday night, and again Sunday. Suddenly, I was having trouble, and I could not explain why. I thought back to the mood swings, the softer skin, the strange tenderness I had been feeling in my chest lately. None of it made sense, but I pushed the worry aside. The following Friday, after a full week, I was relieved to find I could manage. But Saturday and Sunday, limp again. "You do not find me attractive anymore," Lindsay said. "You think I am fat." "No, it is not you. It is me. I am sorry. I do not know why this is happening." She sighed, touching my face with the back of her hand. "Tell me, Kate. At my parents' house a few weekends ago, we flirted with those men." "I remember. Does it excite you to think about dating a man?" "No," I said firmly. "I do not want that. I only want you. But I do not get you hard anymore," she said, pouting. I felt terrible. The next 2 weekends followed the same pattern. Once was all I could manage, and sometimes not even that. Lindsay bought me organic herbal supplements that were supposed to enhance male vitality. I took them twice a day, but saw no improvement. About 2 weeks later, I could not get hard at all. I was so upset I thought I might cry. Lindsay sat beside me and kissed me softly. "I do not care if you cannot get it up," she said. "I love you more than anything, and you are absolutely amazing when you go down on me." Thanks, I said glumly. I bought something new for us to try tonight. She showed me what it was. A dildo. Very realistic in shape, made of clear material. She explained that after I went down on her, she wanted me to use it so I could satisfy her completely. I wanted to see her happy, so I agreed, even though I hated the thought of anything other than me being inside her. I slid it in gently, and she guided me, showing me the angle she liked, the speed, the pressure. I watched her face transform as pleasure took hold, that same expression she used to wear when it was me inside her. Seeing it made me ache. I resolved to double the pills, whatever it took, so I could do this for her myself again. A week of the increased dosage changed nothing. Lindsay bought a second supplement and told me to take both, 3 times a day. I was willing to try anything. I tested myself alone, trying to get a response. Nothing. That Friday, I dressed as Kate, and we went out for our usual date. Dinner, a walk, easy conversation. When we got home, she told me she had another surprise. I might be able to make you finish, even if you cannot get hard enough to be inside me, she said. Sure, I replied, grateful for the chance. Lindsay disappeared into the bathroom. When she came back, she had removed her clothes. Around her waist, she wore a leather harness. She reached into a box and pulled out a dildo, larger than the one I had been using on her. She slid it through a ring in the harness and locked it into place. Standing there, it looked as though she had an enormous erection. My stomach dropped as she squeezed lubricant onto it and spread it slowly with her hand. Now bend over, Kate, she said, her voice soft but certain. You have been inside me. Tonight, I am going to be the one inside you. I turned away, partly so I would not have to look at her wearing that thing. She came up behind me and worked the tip into position with extraordinary gentleness, easing it forward fraction by fraction. Oh, Kate, she whispered. I have wanted to be inside you ever since I first saw you dressed up. It makes me so happy to share this with you. She began to rock, slow at first, finding a rhythm, then building, faster, deeper, harder. A strange current of pleasure rose through me, something entirely unfamiliar. I hated that this was making me feel good, but I could not deny it. It was. Afterward, I went down on her, then used the other dildo until she was trembling. We curled up together in bed when it was over, legs tangled, breathing slowly, returning to normal. At least now there was a way for me to experience some pleasure too, and I was grateful that she cared enough to think of it. We lay in silence for a while. Then Lindsay spoke. Kate, how would you feel about dating a man? Did we not talk about that already? I said, my guard going up immediately. We did, she admitted. But things have changed since then. You have not been able to get hard in weeks. And you told me yourself that you enjoy it when I use the strap-on. The same motion, the same shape a man would give you. So I am asking again, what would you think of being with a man? I just could not do that, I said firmly. I love you. She was quiet for a moment, tracing circles on my shoulder with her fingernail. Do you remember the strip club? She asked. How could I forget? It was my lifelong fantasy, and you made it real. Well, I have a fantasy too, one I have been carrying for a very long time. Something in her tone made my chest tighten. What exactly is that? I want to do a threesome, she said. For one brief electric second, my mind raced to an image of 2 women in bed with me. Then she finished the sentence. You, me, and this incredibly attractive man I know from work. It would be my dream come true. The room seemed to tilt. She wanted to bring a man into our bed. Was this why she had introduced the strap-on? To ease me into the sensation, to make me comfortable with the shape and feel of it before asking for the real thing. How could she want this? How could she want another man in our bedroom? But then, I was not much of a man myself anymore. I could not even perform. Maybe she was right. Maybe I should spend more time as Kate. My thoughts spiraled, one contradicting the next, emotions colliding without resolution. And beneath all of that confusion sat one undeniable fact. She had done something extraordinary for me. She had brought my deepest, most private fantasy to life, something I never believed could actually happen. I owed her. If this was the dream she had been carrying all her life, how could I say no after what she had given me? Reluctantly, against every instinct screaming inside me, I told her I would do it. "I am so glad," she said, pulling me close. "I really think you will enjoy it as much as I will." I did not sleep well that night. The following Friday, my nerves were unbearable as Lindsay and I prepared for the arrival of our guest, Craig. She had described him to me several times throughout the week. Short, spiky blonde hair, rugged jaw, athletic build. She said every woman in her office had a thing for him. Each detail she shared made me more anxious. We cooked a nice dinner together, set the table with her good plates, and opened a bottle of expensive wine to let it breathe. I put on soft background music while she lit candles and arranged the napkins with careful precision. The apartment looked romantic. Too romantic, I thought, for what was about to happen. "You look tense," Lindsay said, adjusting one of the candles. "Try to relax. Craig is very charming. You will like him." "That is not what I am worried about," I muttered. She smiled, as though she found my nervousness endearing. When the doorbell rang, every nerve in my body told me to run. "Go let him in," Lindsay called from the kitchen, her hands busy with the salad. "I cannot get to the door right now." I smoothed down my skirt, took a breath, and opened the door. Standing in the hallway was a tall blonde man with broad shoulders and an easy, confident smile. He was exactly as Lindsay had described. I understood immediately why the women at her office noticed him. "Hi, you must be Kate," he said in a deep, warm voice. "Lindsay has told me so much about you." "And you must be Craig," I replied, stepping aside. "Will you not come in? Can I take your jacket?" "Thank you," he said, shrugging it off and handing it to me. His eyes moved over me quickly, appreciatively. "Lindsay told me you were really attractive. She was not exaggerating." I managed a smile as I hung up his jacket. I was wearing a fitted tank top and a black skirt. Between the hormones I did not yet know about and the months of cinching, my body had changed enough that girls' clothes fit me naturally now. I did not even need the padded panties anymore to show curves. As I turned back toward the living room, I caught myself glancing over my shoulder and batting my eyelashes at him, exactly the way Lindsay had taught me. The gesture came automatically now, without thought, and that realization unsettled me more than Craig's presence did. We sat down to dinner together, poured the wine, and talked. Craig was easy company, funny, attentive, quick to laugh. He asked me questions about myself, listened to my answers, refilled my glass without being asked. Lindsay watched the two of us from across the table with a look I had seen before, the same bright-eyed intensity she wore every time Kate appeared. Craig was genuinely pleasant company, and by the time we finished eating, I felt more at ease with him than I had expected. He had a natural warmth, a way of putting people at ease with humor and eye contact. Getting to know him over dinner made the idea of what came next feel slightly less terrifying, but only slightly. As the hour grew late, dread settled back into my chest like a stone. Eventually, Lindsay stood, took both our hands, and led us toward the bedroom. The candles from the living room cast long shadows down the hallway. Inside the room, she directed everything, her voice calm and assured, telling each of us what to do and when to do it. She kept the lights low, just a single candle on the dresser. She had me kiss him first. His stubble scraped against my chin, and the firmness of his mouth against mine felt completely alien. Then she had me run my hands across his muscular, hairy chest. My fingers moved mechanically, while my mind screamed that this was wrong. But it got worse. She had me use my hand on him, stroking him until he was fully hard. I could feel the heat and the weight of him in my palm, and I wanted to pull away. Lindsay lay back on the bed, her eyes bright, and she instructed Craig to enter her. I watched him slide into her, large, confident, completely in control. That was the hardest thing to witness. She was mine, and now another man was inside her, and she was moaning with a pleasure I recognized, but could no longer give her myself. Then Lindsay had me climb onto the bed beside them. She hiked up my skirt and reached for her strap-on, working it into me from behind, while Craig continued thrusting into her. He was in her, and she was in me. The bedroom filled with her screams as Craig drove harder. "Kate, please go down on me now," she said breathlessly, when Craig finally pulled out of her. I did not want to. He had just finished inside her, and she wanted my mouth there. But this was her fantasy, the one she had dreamed of, the one I had promised to fulfill. I lowered my face between her thighs and tasted her familiar sweetness, mixed with an unfamiliar bitter tang. "Get it all, baby," she murmured, her fingers threading through my hair. "You do not want me to get pregnant, do you?" As I licked and sucked, I had to watch her kissing Craig above me, his hands moving across her breasts, her back arching toward him. I felt hollow. Whatever trace of manhood I still carried seemed to evaporate in that moment. I was not a man anymore. Not after this. At least she did not ask me to take him in my mouth, or let him inside me directly. When it was finally over and Craig dressed and left for the night, the relief was so intense I nearly collapsed. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. "I really hated seeing him inside you like that," I said quietly. "I'm sorry," she replied, sitting beside me. "But he was so wonderful. He made me come 3 times. He was quite a man. I could not even make her come once when I was inside her, not without going down on her first. If I had not felt inadequate enough before, this was devastating." My eyes burned, and I blinked hard to keep from crying. I loved her so much, and I felt as though I had just lost a piece of her love. "I know that was your fantasy, and I gave you everything you imagined," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "But I hope we never do that again. I want to be the only one." "I know," she said softly. "And did you really mean it about getting pregnant? I thought you were on the pill." "I was. But since you could not perform anymore, there was no reason for me to keep taking it." The casual way she said it stung worse than anything Craig had done. "How did it feel when you kissed him?" she asked, changing direction. "I did not like it. I only want to kiss you." "I understand that, dear. But how did it feel? Kissing a man?" "It felt weird," I admitted. He put his hands on my chest. "Yes," she said, her eyes lighting up. "It turned me on so much to see that. When you were kissing him and he put his hands on you like that, he genuinely wanted you. That got me completely worked up. I felt confused, upset, and deeply unsettled. I was just glad it was over." After the episode with Craig, I wanted to show Lindsay how much I loved her, how devoted I was, how willing I was to be everything she needed. So I did what she had been suggesting for weeks and started spending every single evening as Kate. No more switching back after the weekend. Every night, the moment I came home from work, I became her. Lindsay responded with a warmth and tenderness I had been craving for months. We were intimate most nights, her using the strap-on on me going down on her, sometimes using the dildo or a new vibrator she had bought. Our routine felt close, connected, almost domestic in a way that comforted me, even as it confused me. "That was so good, Kate," she said one night, after I had kissed her chest while using the dildo on her. She lay there catching her breath, her fingers playing lazily with my hair. "I wish you would think about getting breast implants, so I could do that to you." "I could just take out my breast forms," I suggested. "If you did not have breasts, it would not be exciting at all," she said flatly. But if you had real ones, think of the advantages. You would not worry about forms slipping out of place. You would not have to wash them or adjust them every time you dress. You would have real breasts, and it would be such a turn-on for me. I do not know, I said slowly. The implication was enormous. Real implants would mean committing to life as Kate full-time. I was not prepared for that. She dropped the subject and used the strap-on me instead. It felt good. I could not deny that anymore. Afterward, she went to sleep still wearing it, which unsettled me. She took my hand in the dark and placed it directly on the shaft. She had made me take it in my mouth earlier, before she entered me, and now she was having me hold it as we fell asleep. I lay there wondering why she was working so hard to make me comfortable with it, or rather, what she was preparing me to be comfortable with. A few weeks later, Craig showed up at our door unannounced one evening. Lindsay did not seem surprised. We sat on the couch talking for a couple of hours, the wine flowing freely. He was charming as before, his attention split evenly between us. And then, gradually, he started making advances. A hand on Lindsay's knee. A lingering look at me. And to my horror, Lindsay began responding, leaning into him, laughing at everything he said, touching his arm. Before I fully understood what was happening, we were in the bedroom again. Lindsay asked me to go down on her, and I did. As my tongue worked against her, I felt Craig behind me, lifting up my skirt. I flinched so hard I almost bit down. "Hold still, Kate," Lindsay said firmly, her hand pressing the back of my head. "Last time he was with me. Now it is your turn. Or would you rather watch him inside me again? You told me you hated that. I arranged this so you would be happy." And with that, I felt Craig enter me from behind, while my face was buried between Lindsay's thighs. Lindsay had positioned us so that in the dim light, with my skirt bunched around my waist and my body angled forward, Craig could only reach what he needed to reach. The sensation was nothing like the strap-on. He was warm and alive, and moving with his own rhythm, his own force. I squeezed my eyes shut and focused on Lindsay, on her taste, on the sound of her moaning, trying to block out the reality of what was happening. Afterward, Craig left, and I sat motionless on the bed for a long time. "So," said Lindsay, lying on her side watching me, "how was your first time with a man?" "I do not know," I said. "I feel so strange about it. Having him do that to me." She sat up and moved closer, her voice dropping to something intimate, conspiratorial. "You should get the operation," she said, "so you can have him do it properly next time." I could not believe what I was hearing. My girlfriend was telling me I should become a transsexual. She wanted me to have surgery. Days ago, she had suggested breast implants. Now this. There was no ambiguity left. Lindsay wanted me to become a woman, fully, permanently. "You would be a real woman," she said, as though offering me a gift. "I do not want to become a woman," I replied. "Well, it is too late for that, Kate. You are already becoming one." I was shocked into silence. The words hung in the air between us, and for a long moment I could not even form a response. How could she say that? "Ever since you moved in with me, I have had you on estrogen and testosterone blockers," she said, her voice calm and measured, as though she were explaining something perfectly ordinary. "You might have noticed how your shape has been becoming more and more feminine over these past months. Your chest is starting to develop. Real growth, not the forms. Did you notice that? Or that the female hormones are what made it impossible for you to maintain an erection?" The room seemed to close in around me. My mind raced backward through every strange change I had tried to ignore. The softening of my skin, the subtle rounding of my hips, the mood swings, the tenderness in my chest, the way my face looked different in the mirror, even without makeup. All the things Lindsay had waved away as stress. It had never been stress. "But you gave me pills to help with that," I said, my voice thin and unsteady. I gave you my birth control pills. They fool the body into thinking it is pregnant. More female hormones flooding your system, dear. So as you can see, you are becoming a real woman. Your brain has been feminized already. Think about it. When you first moved in, would you have kissed a man? Would you have let one be intimate with you? Would you have spent every evening in a skirt without a second thought? You see? On the inside, you are already a woman. It is time to let the rest of your body catch up. I do not want to be a woman, I said again, but even as the words left my mouth, they sounded hollow, like a reflex rather than a conviction. You have already been with a man. Face it, Kate. Your body attracts men. You are far more female than male at this point. It is too late. You cannot go back. The person you were when we first met no longer exists. You are becoming a woman now, whether you accept it or not. She told me she wanted to demonstrate something. Slowly, deliberately, she removed all her clothes. She knelt in front of me and held my limp body in her hand. Nothing. No response at all. Then she stood, fastened the strap-on around her waist, and touched just the tip of it against me. A small twitch. Involuntary. Undeniable. See? She said softly, almost tenderly. You respond more to this than to me naked. You are a woman on the inside already, even if your mind has not caught up. You just need to let go of your inhibitions, Kate, and accept your femininity. Tears blurred my vision. I cannot become a woman. How could I go into work like that? How could I explain it to anyone? You do not have to, she replied, sitting beside me and taking my hand. I am getting a promotion to manager at the end of the month. Part of that means I can hire my own secretary. You can come work for me. We will be together all day, every day. Will that not be wonderful? Nobody in the office will ever know you were anything other than what they see. Even Craig thinks you are a girl. I told him you were shy, that you did not like anyone to see you fully undressed. He has no idea you have male anatomy. And you went to bed with him, Kate. You went to bed with a man, and he never suspected a thing. You are a woman now. I sat there trembling, turning it all over in my mind. Part of me wanted to scream, to run, to undo everything. But another part, a quieter, steadier part, recognized the truth in what she was saying. The changes were real. The feelings were real. The person I had been was fading, and Kate was all that remained. What happens next, then? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. If I get the surgery and the implants, like you want, what happens to us? Lindsay's expression changed. Something bright and certain moved behind her eyes. She slid off the bed and got down on one knee in front of me. She was completely bare, except for the strap-on she still wore. An absurd, surreal image that somehow felt perfectly fitting for us. She reached under the bed and produced a small black box covered in velvet. She opened it slowly, and inside, catching the lamplight, sat an engagement ring. A delicate band with a single sparkling stone. Kate, she said, her voice trembling for the first time all evening. Will you marry me? The tears I had been fighting finally spilled over. But they were not tears of sadness. Of course I will, I replied without hesitation. That is wonderful, she said, sliding the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. While you are still physically male, we will have the ceremony and make it legal. Then you can have your procedures and become Kate, physically and legally. We will be married and we can be together forever. I looked down at the ring on my hand, the light catching it as I turned my wrist. I was saving up to buy a ring for you, I said quietly. I was going to propose soon. That is sweet, she said, standing and cupping my face in her hands. But you are the woman now, and I am the one who buys the ring and proposes. In our relationship, you will be the wife, and I will be the husband. She leaned in and kissed me. I could feel the strap-on pressing against my thigh. Somehow, even that felt right. I know a doctor who can give your male anatomy a small injection, she continued. You would respond one final time, and they could collect and preserve the last of your fertility. When we are ready, we can use it so I can carry our child. Unless you would rather, I have Craig's children. No, of course not, I snapped, then caught the grin spreading across her face. It had been a joke. I am sorry, I said quickly, wiping my eyes. I have been so emotional lately. Just like a woman, she said, wrapping her arms around me. You girls are so difficult to deal with sometimes. We both laughed, real, full laughter that echoed through the apartment and washed away the heaviness of the evening. I held baby Emily in my arms and smiled down at her. She had Lindsay's eyes, wide and dark and endlessly curious, but my nose and my hair color, a perfect blend of both of us. I was overwhelmed with joy that we were parents now. We had decided together that I would leave my job so I could stay home and raise our daughter. Lindsay was climbing the management ladder quickly, earning more than enough for our family on a single income. It made sense. It felt natural. My only regret was that I could not breastfeed her. In those quiet dawn hours, holding Emily against my chest while she fussed, I sometimes felt inadequate, as though I had failed at some fundamental part of womanhood. I wished I had been born female, so I would not have missed out on things like that. Lindsay told me I was lucky not to deal with monthly cycles, but I was never quite convinced. None of that mattered, though. Not really. I was so happy about Emily. The thrill of being a new mother was unlike anything I had ever experienced, more powerful than any fantasy, more fulfilling than any version of my old life. Lindsay and I were married, settled, deeply in love. We were soulmates and lovers, and I felt with absolute certainty that we had been made for each other. I was grateful every single day that I was her wife. My life was perfect now that I had become a woman,